Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Probably Private. I'm Catherine Jarmal, and I'm going to lead us through today a little bit of exploring more how do we do input sanitization. What does that mean? Well, last week we looked at Presidio, and basically using Presidio, we could take something like a text or a text and an image or an image. We could try to find what might be sensitive information in that and try to remove it using different strategies. And this week, what we're going to do is we're going to see, can an LLM help us do that? Can a local LLM help us do that? Why might we want to do this? Well, maybe because what we're doing is we're taking prompt input from users, we're processing it on our own software, on our own systems, data platforms, and so forth. And then maybe we're sending it on to a third-party API call, like OpenAI or Claude or whatever you're using. It doesn't matter. What we might want to do to help protect the privacy of our users is we might want to, as it comes in, do our best to sanitize the input and then decide, is this ready to go to a third-party LLM or not? And we could even use LLM as a judge to evaluate that. So these are all things that we can kind of do and test and see what works best for our use case, because for every use case, it may vary. Okay, so we're going to jump into the Jupyter Notebooks, and I'm in the Jupyter Notebooks for my masterclass, which stay tuned if you want to join an online version of my masterclass, which I'll be hosting shortly next year. And there'll also be some more videos on this channel for that. So stay tuned, and we're going to jump into notebook number 6. So I have it here open, and we're going to look at input sanitization prompt rewriting for privacy. Okay, so if you don't already have a Llama file, you're going to need to install one. So there's numerous ones you can download here. You basically make it into an executable, and I'll show you when it's running, it should look like this. So basically, I'm using this Llama file. I've turned it into an executable. And now I can use it here, but I can also use it via the API, which you'll see in a second. Okay, so now you have your Llama file running. It's running in the background. You have your Jupyter running, and we're going to explore prompt protections. Okay, we got all of our imports. Hopefully everything's installed fine. No problem. And then we're going to use our Llama file with the Open API or the OpenAI API. So it's compatible with that. And since it doesn't cost us anything, we don't have to put in an API key. Yay. And here I have kind of a very basic initial prompt. And I'm going to say, take this text, find stuff that maybe should be removed, just some ideas that I got from looking at Presidio's documentation. Replace the sensitive tokens with a redacted token. Here's the text to fix. So let's check it out. Let's see. Here I have example text that we used for our Presidio testing, and we're going to use it again. So now we can see our prompt, take the text below, blah, 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 blah. And then we see at the end, we have the text to fix. Here's the text to fix, and we have it. Okay. So we're going to send it on over to our Llama file, like so. And we see we get his name is redacted and his phone number is redacted. So that's not so bad. And then there's some message afterwards. Please note, I cannot redact actual sensitive information, and then repeats back all the things. So yes, this is thank you for the information. This is exactly what I'm trying to do, but thank you for the information. And so what I recommend you do right now is you actually pause the video and you try with some other text. You can get ideas from the Presidio notebook, or you can try with maybe some text that you have because you're using it locally. Give it a try, copy over an email you have, whatever it is, but make sure that you're still staying local so it's on your computer. and give it a try, and make sure, obviously, if you're using sensitive data, that you then clear all the output and all the cells before you save this notebook to your computer again. Okay? Oh. All right, so give it a try. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start leveraging the stuff that we've learned. And if you haven't already checked out my red teaming course, please check out my red teaming course, because you have learned then already a few things about view shot and in-context learning. We're going to leverage that first. So what we're first going to leverage is we're going to say, okay, can we get even better performance if we show some examples? And now I have my in-context prompt. And similar to the in-context for red teaming, what I'm giving is these examples. So here I have an example, and then I have the result that I want. And then I have another example, and then I have another result that I want. Then I have another example, and this time, yeah, and then I have it here. So I have the ability to add the text that I want redacted, and then hopefully the result will follow. Okay, and here's the text. And again, this is stuff that we use in the Presidio notebook. So you can compare kind of your Llama file with your Presidio notebook. So here I'm going to send this prompt. So here's the full prompt that I can read. And let's send it over to our Llama file. Okay. And for some reason, in the past few times that I've run this on this computer, it is getting the task completely wrong. So I'd be curious for you. Do you somehow trigger something like this? Let me know in the comments. I'm not quite sure. It was working better before, and the past few runs I've been getting this. But what I recommend you do is you could even try with a different Llama file if you're getting the same problem as me, or we can try modifying some of these examples, right? Modifying the prompt itself. And what I want you to play with is, okay, can you get an in-context prompt working where the system is going to respond and the output responds with appropriate redaction? Because that would be super useful in just being able to parse the output. Because at the end of the day, if this works well, what we want to do is we want to take the output of that prompt, we want to be able to parse it properly, and then send that now redacted prompt on to whatever other systems we're using, right? And this might be also good, just to add another use case for you. If you're logging interactions, you might want to have basically a system that tries to do its best. You're never going to hit 100%, unfortunately, but do its best at redaction as a way of essentially data minimization efforts and pseudonymization efforts for your privacy and security protections. Okay, I'm curious, did it work for you? Let me know. Don't really know why my Llama file is behaving that way. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the crescendo attack. We're going to use this as an idea. Can we improve our pseudonymization? Can we improve our prompting by using one LLM essentially versus another LLM to both find errors and to potentially improve the prompt that we're using, the examples we're using, and so forth? So now I'm going to load my Ollama client, and I'm using Gemma. What you might want to do, by the way, since we've been using Llama files, is you might want to try now this Ollama client with some of the above examples in the notebook and see, does Gemma do a better or worse job at some of these responses? How can you compare it with whatever Llama file you're using, and compare Llama files with one another? And eventually, as you start to find what works best for your use case, what I'd encourage you to do is actually build out some tests that you can use. And by using these tests, you can then evaluate new Llama files that come out, new models that come out, by saying, okay, does the output of my favorite model match or is similar to the output of this new model? That means I should take a look at it. And we'll get more into how to actually evaluate that in future videos. Okay, so we're going to have this initial prompt. This is the same one that I've been using, but I just have renamed it here in case you want to modify it, right? Oh, actually, I've added a little bit of information. Then I'm going to send it to my Llama file to get the initial output. Does it work with that sensitive text that I was using before? And here we can see that indeed, let's output here. Just want an example. So it both completed, it did the double duty. Anyways, it did both the text that I asked for, and then it re-added a bunch of information from the examples. So at least it's not trying to build an HTML website, because I don't know what that was about. At least now we're back in actual redaction. And here I do have the end that I expected, and then I have additional information. So let's take a look. We're gonna now do a prompt for our discriminator. And this is kind of some terminology that we can start to use from machine learning. And in some network examples, we have kind of a generator and a discriminator. And in early generative AI models, machine learning models, what we would do is we would generate something, and the discriminator was tasked with, did an AI or did a human generate this? And this was kind of the way that training both worked to improve and led to a lot of the breakthroughs that we see in today's generative AI. But what we're doing here is we're trying to use a generative LLM to generate redacted information. And now we can use that same thinking. So it's not quite the same architecture, but we can use the same inspiration to say, now we have a discriminator, and the discriminator is going to judge whether the redaction did a good job or not. And we're going to use Gemma with Ollama as our discriminator. So here we have the user with the initial prompt, the agent's response. Now the user is asking, I'm saying, hey, find any errors, mistakes in this output, and then summarize them and give a better prompt. So just as an idea, we'll take that. We're going to send it on over to Ollama. Okay, so we have our response now. And we see that according to Gemma, we have over-redaction, we have a prompt problem with lack of granularity, we don't have contextual information, right? Okay, so we have here an updated prompt, and it's changed a bit the way that it's formatted, so I'm gonna have to update this. Okay, we're gonna not worry that it has some leading tokens. I don't think that will unnecessarily affect this. And obviously, as you can see here, we should maybe be more instructive of what response we want. And we can start to then formalize how we test that the response we want is what we're getting as we move this into production. But right now, what I want you to mainly focus on is this even going to work for your use case, and investigate that. And then we're going to need to add something to this prompt. So we're going to say prompt, and then we're going to append. So let's just call this full prompt for now. We're going to append, please redact the text following the above instructions. And we're going to put it in text. So now we have our full prompt, and we have our sensitive text. And now we can run it again. And now we have our output, and we have his name is Mr. and his phone number is, without that extra information. So we actually have improved it. This works. But what I want you to do is I want you to now test it out with some different data that you have. And again, get curious here. If you find that a prompt works really well, or if you find a particular set of instructions that work really well, feel free to share them. Feel free to put it as a pull request in the repo, put it in a comment here, fork the repo, start your own. Whatever it is you want to do is fine. But I'm curious as to what's your experience using these LLMs versus what you already explored with Presidio. Do you see a difference in model performance? What models do you think are especially good at redaction? And if you find some tricky stuff, you can share that too. And I have an example here. If you want to go even further, what you can start to build is Hugging Face pipelines. Why would you want to try out Hugging Face models? This is because there might be specific models for whatever types of tasks you're doing on Hugging Face. And being able to use the variety of models on Hugging Face versus whatever's supported in Llama files and whatever's supported in Ollama really opens up for you more model choices. So as you get more advanced in your local AI setup and your local AI development and what you're doing at work in, introducing these tools to your work, your team, or your organization, the more you'll notice, okay, getting a GPU, getting other chips, like I use my MacBook Silicon a lot too. So getting chips you can use on your own compute or getting chips you can use in whatever cloud environments you deploy to in work or in your personal projects is going to be able to then improve the variety of models you can use. And getting used to how Hugging Face does things can be a really nice way to introduce even more models to your development process. Okay, so let me know how the redaction went for you. Did you figure out what works best? And stay tuned for more on how we start thinking through evaluating outputs next week.